Hey everyone, sure you're familiar with the Gandhi quote, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And boy, does that quote ever ring true today when you read articles such as this. This is in reference to a CBC News article. Headline, Canadian offshoot of U.S. Libertarian campus group says it provides needed counterpoint to liberal bias. Turning Point Canada registered its first chapter at Simon Fraser University last year. This article is being written by Rafi Bujkanian. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not familiar with this particular contributor to CBC, so I may have messed up that last name, but anyways, let's move on to the article. Some U.S. academics are warning their Canadian counterparts to be wary of a U.S. libertarian group that has recently set up a chapter on the campus of Simon Fraser University, but its proponents say it provides a much-needed counterpoint to the increasingly liberal bias of academia. And let me just stress and point out two things first and foremost before we get too far into this article, but just based on these first few sentences. Number one would be wary of libertarians. Libertarians, once again, folks, I've said this a million times, and I mean, just do a Google search. It takes like a few seconds and you'll find out what libertarians stand for. One, first and foremost, is the NAP, the non-aggression principle. So not to use force, violence, coercion, or theft preemptively towards other human beings. So, dangerous? Libertarians? No. They're actually the exact opposite of a danger or a threat. They're the kind of people that care about personal freedoms and individual liberties for everybody, regardless of your race, your skin color, your religion. A threat. And why would you need to be wary or warned about libertarians? What are they going to do? Start talking about philosophy and individual liberty? What that's supposed to be a negative connotation? That's supposed to be something that we're supposed to accept, or not people like us, but the general masses that this article would be trying to appeal to. What you're supposed to, reject people that promote individual freedoms and liberty and personal responsibility and accountability. That's a bad thing. Think about the world we live in today, folks, wholly Orwellian, when you got people trying to warn others about libertarians. What? Oh, they're going to, what? Take over the government that they don't even believe in or don't want nothing to do with, and the only ones that actually do are the ones that are in the political realm, and the only reason they want to go into politics is to tell people that, hey, the state is terrible. We don't want to be your authorities, but hey, I guess this is the only place where we can get the bully platform or the bully pulpit where we can espouse the kind of truths that you need to hear. But that's a threat. Well, it's a threat to the establishment. It's a threat to the ruling class. It's a threat to authoritarians. It's a threat to collectivists for sure. But to an average person, no. They are the best kind of people you want to have around you. Or even this suggestion of liberal bias. First of all, let me just stress out now, and once again, it's at your fingertips, folks. Doesn't take long to look up what liberal means, right? And actually, libertarians, if you expand out what their philosophy entails, it's very much aligned with a lot of the liberal principles and values, post-Enlightenment era, right? Classical liberal values. What they're referring to today is leftism. But you know what? Liberals, I mean, I guess they do share some areas with the collectivists. But for the most part, a genuine liberal, if you actually know what a liberal is, you should actually identify and align with libertarians in like pretty much the majority or the bulk of the areas of your intellectual thought or your supposed progressive or principled values. So, what? No, it's leftism. It's collectivism, folks. But once again, you get these fucking people that try to use these political talking points or definitions that they completely misrepresent and skew so that it'll fit a particular narrative that they're trying to put forth and present. This is why I do what I do, because it's like, no, I don't want people to read this kind of fucking garbage, this kind of nonsense, and actually believe anything that's being espoused here. Because once again, I'll point out all the bullshit, hypocrisies, lies, and mysticism and false pretenses. And once again, if you don't believe me, hey, you don't have to believe me. You can say, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. All right. Well, then just get out there and look at the, like I said, you don't even have to go use Google, right? You might think, oh, Google's going to tell me the wrong answers, right? Well, then go find some other source. Use a dictionary, right? Use an encyclopedia. Use whatever you got to, but you'll find out what the definitions of these words truly mean and what they truly entail, and you'll find out that, yeah, the way this narrative is being presented, or the way this story is being presented, yeah, it's fucking it's factually void of honesty and all about presenting political propaganda. Turning Point USA describes itself as a student movement for free markets and limited government, whose mission is to educate students through nonpartisan debate, dialogue, and discussion. Right? Exactly, because libertarians, like, we get shit from those on the right just as much as we do on those on the left. And why it is because we take, the real fundamental principles of the classical liberals or the classical conservatives, those who identify on both sides of the political spectrum. What a libertarian does is takes all the good positive points, the principled, the morally principled points, and the ethical points, and the economically astute points, and they combine them, right? And that's basically what a libertarian represents. Whereas, the sophists, the politicians, the pundit class, the ruling class, the authoritarians, they take the worst areas of left and right, and they use that as a mean or a measure to pit, people against each other, to fall back into that tribalist mentality. Libertarians say, no, don't divide the people. Show them they're all individuals, and that, hey, we can all live and cohabitate and coexist amongst each other peacefully as long as we follow some very fundamental rules that are not only objective, universally and morally consistent, but the very foundation of not just societal values, but family values as well. But it has courted controversy in the U.S. on account of some of its tactics. So now we're going to get to the controversial point of what libertarians are doing. This must be good, right? Because if you're going to write a big old article against libertarians, boy, they must do some pretty dangerous, vile, or despicable things. Well, let's find out what they are. These include disseminating a professor watch list of university teachers whom the group considers to be spreading leftist propaganda in the classroom, staging provocative stunts mocking campus safe spaces and free speech zones, and hosting polarizing figures of the far right such as Milo Yiannopoulos. Okay, so far we got, like 4 different points here of contention apparently. So for disseminating a professor watch list of ideologues, I mean, we've seen them out there. Just look at the YouTube videos, folks. I mean, they're out there everywhere. So yeah, there's leftist ideologues out there in academia, in the universities and college campuses that are fucking vile, despicable ideologues, right? Propagandists, cult leaders, basically. And these libertarians are saying, hey, watch out for these people. Apparently that's a bad thing, right? And they're not saying, hey, let's yield our pitchforks and fucking hang these fuckers in the trees or sacrifice them at the altar of libertarianism. They're not suggesting any of that. They're saying, be careful of these people. So they're using their words, folks. They're using their words, right, to point out that, yeah, these people are a danger. Apparently that's a bad thing these days. And they're staging provocative stunts mocking campus safe spaces. So they're mocking people for their ridiculous victim mentality, right? I mean, you've seen it, folks. We've all seen it out there. So, to make fun of these people that feel that they got to hide in these safe spaces, or shut down or silence people because they might hear words they don't like, right? That's a bad thing? For making fun of people that are fucking religious or cult-like ideologues, now you're perceived by those in the establishment media, CBC, now you're observed as a bad person for doing so. Oh, and the free speech zones. So for libertarians standing up for free speech and saying, hey, you leftists, you Antifa fucks that want to constantly silence people that have opinions or messages that you disagree with, the fact that libertarians are saying, no, allow them to speak, apparently that's a bad thing once again. So for promoting freedom of speech, and libertarians will do that for anyone. Antifa, hey, we libertarians, we can say, hey, we want to hear what you fucking dipshits got to say. No matter how vile, despicable, and disgusting the shit you espouse, I'm saying, go ahead and spew it. Matter of fact, I want you to spew it so I can give the fucking message back, the rebuttal back on a counter opinion, a counter narrative that will destroy your bullshit so the public can see who's being honest, who's being forthright, and who's being reasonable, and who's being moral. Yeah, libertarians are saying, yeah, bring your shit on, bring it on. We're not going to fucking fight you like physically or anything. We're just going to fight you in the battle of ideas. We're just going to say, we have the truth. You folks are a bunch of liars and propagandists. And hey, we'll give what we got to say. You get what you to say what you got to say, and let the public, let the forum of the public people decide. Let each individual out there decide who they think or who would they perceive as being intellectually or morally honest with you. Once again, how is that construed as negative in any way? Oh, and for hosting polarizing figures of the far right, such as Milo. Milo, a gay Jewish dude, right? Conservative. That, yeah, he's a little provocative, but what has he ever done, right? What is there any instance you can point out where was there bombings that he was is there mass uprisings, revolutions, violent conflicts that he's promoting? No, none of the sort, right? The guy was a victim himself, but what it is he doesn't look at himself as a victim. So, the victimology, the victim culture, they hate anyone that don't perceive of themselves, even if they align or associate or fit in with any of their particular groups or their tribal instincts or their tribal mentality. They'll throw Milo on the bus for the simple fact that he won't go along with their political orthodoxy, with their ideology. Wow. They will videotape you. Oh no! They'll actually have a record of the shit you espouse. Oh, they don't like that. Leftists definitely don't like that, right? They will perhaps have people in your classroom to take a class to ask certain questions, to get a video clip that they can send to their own news website. Said Matthew Bodie, assistant professor of rhetoric and composition at the University of North Georgia. So, have you heard anything yet? Really, that would meet the criteria of being like, a danger? I haven't. Nothing of the sort so far. But of course, because they got nothing. They got a big nothing burger when they try to challenge libertarians. This is, like I say, libertarians, we have this magic shield because we're not a threat to anyone. And that's why they want to go against us and oppose us and paint us in this kind of negative light, is because they know that, we've got the ideas, we've got the intellects, we've got everything that they don't have, and they hate us for it. Bodie first heard about the group after he wound up on its watch list, which was launched in November of 2016, shortly after the election of Donald Trump as U.S. president. Bodie's name made it on the list after he expressed concerns about legislation that would allow university students to carry guns on campus. I'd say to fellow professors, be aware of how they operate. They're provocative, he said. Provocative. Oh, no, they're provocative. Oh, no, the sky is falling. Betsy Stevenson, an economics professor at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, found herself on the watch list after she wrote a paper suggesting economics textbooks need to provide more examples of women in the field if they want to attract more female students. I would suggest there should be a little more context involved than just, one sentence, right? One fucking sentence is attributed to this bullshit narrative. But once again, the left, because if they told the actual whole story, then you would find out right away that, once again, another big old nothing burger, right? This is not a controversial thing, Stevens said of her suggestion. She said she was surprised to find herself on the list, given that she sees herself as someone who has tried to ensure conservative students have a voice on campus and help foster relations with conservative think tanks. There's obviously a lesson for Canada to pay attention to, which is that the U.S. has become a very divisive place, she said. These styles of political activism, where you sort of use the other side as an enemy, are not good for political discourse. Oh, but the left's not doing any of that. No, it's libertarians. It's not conservatives, it's not liberals or leftists, right? Collectivists. No, it's libertarians. Those are the people that are at fault, right? Which, libertarians, the people that have never had any political power in basically forever. But yeah, those are the people that this fucking dipshit, they write in the article that those are the people that are a threat. They're a danger, right? They're warning you about, the dangers of statism and political division and identity politics and cultural Marxism and postmodernism and even the far right and the all right. Like libertarians, like I'll even say I'm just as much against those identitarians on the right as I am as those on the left. But once again, we're the ones that are being painted now as what? As what? As fucking what? Turning Point USA was founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk, who was 24 at the time and became the face of the young conservative movement, writing op-eds for publications such as Breitbart and the Washington Times, and appearing on panels on Fox News, CNBC, and other media. Well, you know what? I'm sure Charlie Kirk, this is the fucking thing that I find hilarious about those in the established media, especially the majority of those on the established media who identify on the left side of the political spectrum, is, hey, why don't you give these people a platform too? Then you don't have to constantly promote them as being only those that will go on to Fox News or Breitbart, right? Give them a platform and then I guarantee they will go. Hey, CBC, let me just tell you right now, as a Canadian libertarian, invite me on your show sometime. Now, I won't do it if you want to fucking do a little 5-minute, 10-minute segment. No, if you allow me the time, the proper time, the ample amount of time to espouse what I've got to say properly, then yeah, I'd go on your site. I'd go on any left-leaning site. Why? Because your people are the ones, your readers, your viewership, those who would consume your content are the ones that I actually want to reach out to the most. And so do a lot of us in the libertarian community or in the libertarian movement or those who just individually identify as libertarians, those who care about individual freedoms and principles and values that represent the smallest minority on the planet, which is the individual. Right? We don't care about putting people into little tribes or little groups and pitting them against each other. We recognize and acknowledge each individual as a human being. Right? They're not just, a sub portion of a group. They are an individual. That's why we care about what each individual has to say. We don't try to take one particular person and collectivize them as the only sole identifier of, the color of their skin, what's between their legs, right? No. Or what are their particular religious or ideological preferences are. We're the kind of people that, like myself, I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to anybody. Because whether you have things that you say that I agree with or I disagree with, sunlight is the most amazing and effective disinfectant out there in countering or challenging immoral ethics or immoral ideologies. Kirk has been praised by U.S. President Donald Trump and has said in interviews that he counts Donald Trump Jr., who has spoken at Turning Point USA events, as a friend. Charlie Kirk is a great warrior, Trump Sr. is quoted as saying in promotional material on the group's website. Those who started the Canadian offshoot say it takes no cues from its American counterpart. They have not told us what to do. They just kind of let us do as we please, says Wade Miller, the national chair and co-founder of the Canadian group. Obviously, Canada is a different political environment. Miller said Turning Point Canada received no money from its U.S. counterparts and is entirely self-funded. For now, Turning Point Canada is registered as a club at Simon Fraser University in Burnaby, BC, but Miller said the group has plans to expand to several Ontario campuses in the fall, including McMaster University in Hamilton and Ryerson University in Toronto. Miller said Canadian universities are veering too much to the left, and there is a need for a group that champions libertarian and conservative principles. Millennials seem to be increasingly more liberal, so this is just about offering an alternative view, he said. Our professors and so on are increasingly majority liberal and maybe even further left than the Liberal Party of Canada. Miller said his organization would not consider publishing a professor watch list and that he is not personally a fan of Yiannopoulos. It was a brand that had already been made as a conservative libertarian organization, Miller said of Turning Point. Anyways, I'll post a link to this article or this hit piece, this propagandist piece in the description of the video below. So you can continue on and read what's left. But obviously, if they had any, if they had any shock and awe moments, right, any great revelations or anything that they could point out that libertarians were just, ooh, these vile, evil, despicable people, it would have already been done. So, and like I said, you're not going to find anything in the article. I entice you to try. I entice you to look, right? But yeah, once again, they got nothing. Nothing. No matter what they do, like I say, this is the beautiful thing about being a libertarian, okay? That's why I personally enjoy and love being a libertarian and enjoy and thoroughly respect the libertarian philosophy, is the fact that these pundits, these political propagandists, you know, they can throw as much shit as they want, but like libertarians, just like having a fucking Teflon coating, man. It's not going to stick. It's going to bounce off. It might even fucking ricochet and hit them back in their dumb asses or in their dumb faces. Because, yeah, you got nothing to challenge libertarians, right? Nah. That's like the devil himself suggesting that Jesus was just this, he's just this bad guy, right? For trying to help people out and promoting free will and individualism and personal responsibility, personal accountability, morality, proper ethics, right? Genuine principles that are conducive to human flourishment peacefully, right? Economic prudence, right? You know, not being thieves, not being parasites. Yeah. Yeah, how well would that go over, right? No, everyone would be looking at it like, what are you talking about, devil? What are you talking about? You're the bad guy? You're the fucking one that always wants to burn people or fucking destroy their lives or you know, have all these evil intents. So why are you trying to paint Jesus as this bad character? Well, that's like the left is trying to paint libertarians as bad people. Like, really, though? You might want to hold up the mirror sometimes. Like, oh, shit. Yeah, okay, sorry. I guess my perspective has changed a little bit, but they don't want to look in the mirror. Only if it has to do with vanity, right? But to reflect on who they are or what they stand for, nah. Probably not going to happen for most of them. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.